Good morning and welcome to Opinions Plus. The topic of today is why we fight. Why we fight. Back in the time of World War II, which according to Trump we haven't fought yet. Sorry, but the man is, yeah. The man is certainly not the reason why we fight. His character, his honor, nothing about him determines why we fight. People are fighting in his name, apparently, for something. Something nebulous, this craziness about wokeness and all that. But that isn't why we fight. Frank Capra, who was a fairly famous movie mogul, after World War II, did a series of historical documentations on, the Department of War. He was in the military at the time, and he did a list of different war clips that were well done, very well done. And if you Google it and look at it, it talks about the actual reasons why we in America are fighting. He has a list: Prelude to War, the Nazi Strike, Divide and Conquer, Battle of Britain, Battle of Russia, Battle of China, and the war comes to an end. Those are the series in the Why We Fight conglomerate of films. So, and it's really well done. And it shows, the capabilities and artisticness to attract people to listen. And it's done in the 1940 language, the proprieties and the way the announcers speak and all that. But it shows all the war clips and it's well done. Encourage anybody to want to teach your children what's going on in World War II, the ideas about what's happening in World War II. But it doesn't say why we fight. It gives the reasons. We were attacked, we have this battle, we have injustices, we have the Nazi tyranny, the Japanese tyrannies that create so much horror. So much horror. But it doesn't explain why we do it. It doesn't explain why the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor. We can get some of the facts, because some of the War Department of War at the time disagreed with some of these others who said, don't attack the bear. But, there's different perspectives. There's different reasons. But it doesn't say why we fight. I was watching a documentary yesterday on, nature and the mating seasons and how these male bulls, and it's usually always the males, but once in a while the females get into it too, but mostly it's the males. They fight. They don't have to fight. Now some are physical, like some of the, bigger mammals. They fight, they're aggressive, they have to injure, they have to disable their opponent, and then they what? Get access to a prize. What's the prize? The prize is the female. The right to mate, the right to procreate. That's down in the bottom line of why we do things. The Cro-Magnon man and what was going on back then and how, of course, we don't have the detailed information about why people back then fought, but could have been the same idea, fighting over territory, fighting over women. And it always comes down to that. Back in the Civil War time, there's a clip in Michael Scherer's book on Gettysburg. And Colonel Chamberlain at the time was giving a pep talk to some of the men. And he said, this is why there's many reasons why people have gone to war in the past. For territory. And he was a scholar and a professor and for women. And, you can't deny that. That's what people do. It's foundational. Today's world isn't a matter of policy. It's fundamentals. The way people think and what they do and why they do things are ground in many fundamental ways that have to be attended to, have to be thought about. This Hezbollah thing, why they have such hate. If you boil it down, and there was a gentleman, I can't remember the exact dates, but a young Jewish man. This was during the time when there was tremendous conflict and, the Yasser Arafat group killing and whatnot going on. And he was just a young guy with an idealistic frame of mind and went out on his own and visited the different Middle Eastern countries which were actively calling for Israel's demise. And one of the things he came away with, and I'm sorry I don't have the names, it's just a memory thing, but that's why it's lucky to be opinions plus and not fact plus, is that he carried away the idea as he talked to people about, because he didn't cover the fact he was Jewish. He didn't push in anybody's face, but when the topic came up, he told them. And he lived with these Arab families. He lived with these people in Iran and Iraq. He traveled the Middle East because there are Jews in the Middle East. But it wasn't the man they hated. And when you get right down to it, people don't understand what they hate. They don't understand it. They just know it. They just do it. That's foundational. There's a driving thing in people's psyches, apparently, that caused this need to fight. Now, it can be manifested in many ways because it has its ground floor in everyday society. Obviously, there are people fighting all the time. People in the streets, arguments, guns, people getting killed, whatnot. Not just the mass shootings, but the everyday violence that happens, especially in concentrated places where people are shoulder to shoulder. Poverty and all that other stuff. But even in, the rich societies, the anger rises, and what causes that? It's a debauched idea. It's a debauched soul because everybody just wants to be happy. Happy. Live their lives. But there's something else that grows in their heads. And, the animal kingdom, you see that it has a lot to do with the mating, the hormonal issues that come up. But they also just fight. These Kodiak bears and the grizzlies, they kill the male cubs. Well, they kill anything, if they're hungry. But they don't, the females protect their young, not only from other predators, but the males. Because there's an instinct about killing, whether it's competition or whatever it is, because the scientists do try to personify the animal into a, human intellect, which has some viability, it has some rationalization to it, but it is not the way it is. Those are animals, we are humans, totally different things. our souls, our appreciation, our respect for the goodness, and is there. And you see it also in animals. Of course you do. Those people who love their pets, or and they have these clips all the time about how animals are saving people. There's an intellect there. There's a value system there. Animals are not at each other's throats all the time. But when it does happen, it happens because there's some internal drive that creates that need. And I think that's part of it in this human, especially of some of these leaders that start these conflicts. What comes to mind, of course, is the Putin thing. Why the hell did he start this? And there's people that say there's Nazis in Ukraine and all this mumbo jumbo. I guess there's Nazis everywhere because people have the same boneheaded approach to bias and prejudice. They just get it in their heads, and that's what drives them. And then there's an epiphany and things change, and they're no longer boneheads, they're decent people. Sometimes. Sometimes they die that way. That's just the way it's made up. But I'm talking to the main. I'm talking to all of the majority of people, not to the boneheads, not to the strange people that could care less about your feelings. They don't care. And you have to realize that. People care about themselves. Primarily, number one, you live for yourself. You are alive for yourself. You breathe for yourself. Everything about it is, you need sustenance. You need to live. You. When the masks come down in the airplane, you, the provider, has to take that mask first. You can't give it to somebody who is not able or capable of leading. You have to do it. You have to protect yourself. You. Then you protect the others, who grow into people who protect others. That's your glory. That's your purpose. But why do we fight? There's no clear answer. Most of the things you're going to hear from this particular Opinions Plus is there's no clear answer. But there is a way, and you don't need the bloody answer, really. You just need to know that you have to drive towards happiness and goodness. Wars can be avoided. Of course they can. Decent people can avoid wars. Decent people can avoid fighting. Decent people can avoid most of the things that are out there. The horrors. Realize that. Bring that to your forward thinking. Why we fight? It's a part of us. It's a thing we have to fight against within us, and especially if you get to leadership. But you're leading a family, most of us are, the people who are listening to these kind of clips, are leading a family or going to lead a family. They have to know, they have to teach, they have to guide, because we're not getting that guidance in today's society, and we need it today. There's too much crap out there. There's too much input out there. You're not getting the basics. And I ask you to think about the basics. Understand what the basics are. Critically think. Go to the good. Keep hope alive. Why? Because it's all in your best interest and that of those you love. Simple, isn't it? But it doesn't turn out to be. Think about it. My best wishes. Thanks for listening, and if you can subscribe, please do, and send the link on to others. These are opinions. And also comment. Always comment. Put your word out there. You never know where it's going to hit. You never know what it's going to do. Always comment if you can. And my best to all, and thank you for listening. Have a good day.